This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather Ho there. It's Jeff COULDVE and welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, June the 19th, in the year 2005, F1 was a mess. It was the F1 US Grand Prix from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was shocking that the US Grand Prix would be held at the home of IndyCar, the legendary home of IndyCar, if you will. But this was the 9th race of the 2005 F1 season, and it was notorious for the fact that out of the 20 cars, only 6 competed. Like, everyone did the formation lap, but 14 cars went to the pit lane. The question on everyone's lips is why there were only 6 cars who finished the race at the F1 US Grand Prix. Were there a lot of crashes? No, there weren't really crashes. There weren't crashes at all. It has to do with the biggest thing known to man, tires. So anyway, 6 of the 20 cars used Bridgestone tires. The Ferrari team, the Jordan team, and the Minardi team. The other 14 cars, or 7 teams, used Michelin tires. There were a lot of tire problems. There was an accident for Ralf Schumacher's Toyota, and of course a stand-in, Ricardo Santa, so those cars were huge. And they wanted a change in turn 13 in the F1 track. But of course the F1 track is different from the Indy 500 track because the Indy 500 is just that oval. However, the F1 race uses the infield of Indianapolis as their turns and all that. They said that the tires would be safe for 10 laps. Only like 10 laps. And the tire problems were huge. The only problem was, the biggest problem with this whole tire problem was the fact that F1 did not allow tire changes during the race. Obviously nowadays you see tire changes throughout every F1 race, but it forbade it, which was terrible. There was a compromise from Michelin to allow chicane to be used. It would be unfair to the Bridgestone teams. So Michelin and Bridgestone had their problems and all that. Yeah. So anyway, there were a lot of problems. So headed into the 9th race, Fernando Alonso was the world drivers leader, leading Kimi Räikkönen of McLaren, well, Alonso for Renault, and Toyota's Jarl Trulli with 27 points. Renault was the leader of the construction title, or the team thing. So there was a qualification and all that. Jarl Trulli of Italy was the pole sitter, with Kimi Räikkönen second and Jenson Button of BAR third. Canada's Jacques Villeneuve would compete. He qualified 12th. So there would be 20 drivers. Jarl Trulli, Kimi Räikkönen, Jenson Button, Giancarlo Fisichella, Michael Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, Rubens Barrichello, Takuma Sato, Mark Webber, Felipe Massa, Juan Pablo Montoya, Jacques Villeneuve, Ricardo Santa, Christian Klein, Nick Heidfeld, David Coulthard, Diego Montero, Christian Albers, Narian Karkrivian, and Patrick Frieschacher. But of course, tires were just the big story. They tried to do correspondence and compromise, but it didn't work out. So anyway, they tried to change the turn. They tried to do a chicane. They tried everything in their freaking power to, but nothing worked out. So anyway, the cars lined up on the grid procedure. As the green light was signaled for the start of the formation lap, all 20 cars were there. At the bank turn 13, the entrance to the pit lane, all teams that ran Michelin tires returned to their pit box, leaving 6 cars. So Ferrari, Jordan, Minardi all had Michelin tires, and basically they started the race. So the fans did not know about the plans and all that. It was weird and all that. Technically, Michael Schumacher and Ruben would be the top car, would be the guy with the pole position per se. With Rubens Barrichello starting second, Diego Montero third, Nuri Kurvikin fourth, Christian Albers fifth, and Patrick Friessacher sixth. So anyway, it was obvious that the two Ferrari drivers were outclassing everyone else. I mean, Jordan and Minardi were basically not racing and all that. But by lap 10, there were many of the attendees left the grandstands. It was supposed to be 100 to 130,000 fans. Thousands of fans wanted to demand refunds, and police were called to keep the peace and all that. Fans would throw beer cans and water bottles on the track. Fortunately, it didn't affect the race because they would have called it. It was a story of pit strategy, and the only passing was up lap traffic. So anyway, Schumacher did have to take a pit stop, which gave Barrichello the lead, and then lap 51, things would be huge. The Ferrari drivers would hurt each other, but the Ferrari drivers were reminded not to crash out of the race, and it was at a slower pace. It was at slower pace and all that. And that was just terrible and all that. As the two Ferraris were 1-2, it was not even close. Michael Schumacher won by a second and a half over Rubens Barrichello. Diego Montero ended up taking third on the grid, which was huge for him. Fourth place went to Kurvian, the Indian driver, and then Christian Albers of Holland and Patrick Friessacher finished the group and got points. So it was 10 points for first, 8 for second, 6 for third, 5 for fourth, 4 for fifth, and 3 for sixth. And of course, you know, everyone knew that Ferrari was going to win because it's freaking Ferrari. So Schumacher got his 84th career win, his 4th U.S. Grand Prix title, and all that. The weird thing is Schumacher and Barrichello were the only one on the lead lap. The two Jordans were 1 lap back, and the two Minardis were 2 laps back. So it was huge. This was the first time ever that an Indian driver had scored points in F1. And this would be the final race that Minardi would actually score points in their F1 career. So the podium ceremony happened. The Ferrari drivers accepted the awards and quickly exited. However, Montero would celebrate his first and only podium finish because, you know, it was the first time a Portuguese driver got on the podium. And of course, there was a lot of aftermath. Schumacher would jump from 5th to 3rd in the world point standings, drivers' point standings. Although Alonso and Raikkonen were 1-2. Barrichello went to 4th in the drivers' championship with his silver. Anyway, it was huge and all that. There was an inability to find a solution and all that. And, you know, the future of F1 in the US was on thin ice, obviously. It was a farce. And all that. So, lots of people were upset. And all that. FIA couldn't really do too much. However, the World Motorsport Council said that the FIA screwed up. They failed to ensure availability of suitable tires. They wrongfully refused to allow cars to start the race. Wrongfully refused to allow cars to race subject to speed restrictions. Failed to notify the stewards of intention not to race and combined with other teams to make a demonstration with damaging to F1. All that. So the FIA was not too pleased and all that. However, Michelin, the tire company at the forefront of this said they would compensate all race fans who had purchased tickets for the Grand Prix. And would issue refund checks and all that. They would actually purchased 20,000 tickets for the 2006 U.S. Grand Prix, which went off without a hitch. And all that. There were rumors that there would be a second non-championship race at Indianapolis. But it didn't work out that way. However, at the 2005 Champ Car World Series Grand Prix of Cleveland, 1 week after the U.S. Grand Prix, all bearers of ticket stubs of the U.S. Grand Prix were allowed to come to the race for free. So it worked out. So yeah, fortunately for the U.S., F1 still raced there and would move from Indianapolis to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas to do their race. Now they have 3 races allegedly. Austin, Miami, and a race later this year in Las Vegas. So, kind of off-putting to put 3 races in the United States and only 1 in Canada. But it doesn't really matter in the end. All that matters is the money, money, money. And yeah, the 2005 U.S. Grand Prix, massive farce. Anyway, I'm just having to do.